Hello and welcome to the first of a couple of tutorial videos looking at Level 5 Unit 503. This is rather concisely named the Principles of Managing and Leading Individuals and Teams to Achieve Success. My name is Brent Warren, and I'm the Training Director and one of the Senior Tutors at CMBD. 503 is without doubt one of the most popular units that our candidates do. It's ideal if you're doing the Level 5 award with a single assignment, as it covers the basic principles of management and leadership and is relatively easy to tackle if you follow a few simple rules. Now, before we dive into detail on the various tasks and learning outcomes, let's gather together the 4 documents that you're going to need in order to write the assignment. The first of these documents is the assignment brief template. Your tutor will provide this in a Word document format so that you can complete your assignment on it. There are a number of critical instructions and pieces of advice on the front of the assignment brief, and probably one of the most common bits of feedback I give when somebody sends me, say, task 1 for the first time is that you haven't fully taken those on board. The second document we need is the syllabus, and that is referred to in the assignment brief as the unit specification. This contains even more instructions and advice and guidance and can literally tell you what you need to be writing about in each of the tasks. You may already have a copy of this because you've chosen to do this particular unit. But if not, you can download it from the bottom of the course page on the website, or your tutor will supply it to you. As you will be able to see on the next 2 screenshots, this contains a huge amount of information which you need to take on board for each part of the unit. Now, these are pages that I seriously recommend that you print from the syllabus. Don't print the whole syllabus because it's an enormous document, but those were pages 34 to 36. And you really should have those by your elbow as you're writing your assignment. The next of our documents is the command-verb definitions. And this is another one that I suggest that you print. There is a need to find the command verb in each of the tasks and ACs and make sure that you understand how it will affect the way that you format and answer the question. The fourth and final document we need is the evidence booklet. This accompanies the assignment brief when we send everything off to CMI, and is where you put supporting documentation and evidence from your workplace to complement your answers. So let's make a start by looking at some of the instructions on the front of the assignment brief. Now we start with preparation for the assessment. You cannot write these assignments unless you've done your homework. And that homework should include having a look at the learning journey, perhaps just for the first task, on Management Direct. One thing to make clear about Management Direct is that it will not lead you by the nose through the questions on the assignment brief. It's there to provide underpinning knowledge, background and information on various models and theories, perhaps looks at a couple of case studies and things like that. Its purpose is to provide you with the background understanding you need to think in detail about each task in the assignment. Moving on to the next section, completing the assignment brief, it's a good idea to have a look at the table of pass versus fail on page 8 of 8 before you've written anything on the assignment brief. CMI assignments are exactly that. They are a pass or a fail. So if you, for example, haven't referenced outside sources, then that is a fail. Next, we have some very specific guidance about how to use the evidence booklet that should accompany your assignment brief when we submit it to CMI. Make sure you read these clearly. For example, if you put a piece of evidence in the section marked work-based evidence, then you're required to write a bit about it in the learner evidence section to explain why you've used it. You should also make sure whatever document you've placed in the evidence booklet is referred to clearly in the assignment brief. There's also some rules about how many pages things can have, and also some comments about embedding files. We suggest that you avoid embedding files in the evidence booklet if you can. Different formats and various issues over the past have caused quite a lot of problems. We're not saying don't do it, but check with us for some advice and guidance if you need to. The final two instructions to note on the front of the assignment brief are the need to use an appropriate referencing technique. And as most of you will probably be using Microsoft Word, there is a separate video tutorial on how to do this very easily and simply. The final instruction is to make sure you sign the learner declaration, which is in the evidence booklet. This is to confirm that everything's your own work, and if it isn't, you've referenced it and told us where you got it from. Okay, now let's go to page 2 of the assignment brief, where we've got a table and even more information. First thing I want to look at is word count. Down the bottom of the page it tells you that you've got an overall word count allowance of 3,500 to 4,000 words with a margin of plus or minus 10%. This unit is quite tight on word count, so using a few tips and techniques and using the evidence booklet is definitely required to get in everything that you want to say. As word count is precious, you'll be pleased to know that things like subheadings and headings, an introductory paragraph about you and your organisation, and maybe a reflective statement at the end of your assignment are all things that are not counted. There's a comprehensive list of those there again at the bottom of the page. However, the biggest thing on the page is the chart showing how the word count can be split down between the various tasks and questions. And when we start getting into task 1 itself, I'll show you how to use that to plan your way through a particular question. If you have a look at page 3, there's a scenario approach described that you can use if you're unable to write about your own organisation or maybe a previous one. When you read it, I probably think you'll reach the conclusion that writing about things that you've experienced is much easier than trying to make it up. We move on to page 4, where we've actually got even more instructions about how to approach task 1. The most important of those is to have a look at the guidance for completion of task 1. I've already mentioned that you can base your answers on the scenario on the previous page. On the other hand, you can use your own experience of managing and leading teams, or use well-chosen examples from an organisation you know well or have researched. There's no doubt about it, writing about you and your experiences and your organisation are the perfect way to approach this assignment, but you have alternatives if you can't do that. In other words, your assignment should be written in the first person about you and your experiences and your observations and opinions. This causes people with the previous experience, for example, of doing a university degree, some difficulty initially. However, you still get used to it, but we want lots of the I language, lots of the we language, lots of my company, my team, my organisation, etc. Okay, we're finally there, apart from 3 important housekeeping points, please. As you fire up your assignment brief on your laptop or your desktop, please put your name, the unit that you're doing and your qualification in the header at the top of the assignment brief. You are required to identify yourself on each page of it, and when we kind of print off a hard copy, if we do to market or whatever, we make sure we know who it's from on the physical document. Secondly, the first time that you save your document, please change the file name to incorporate your name. When I get lots of assignments come through for feedback, I put them in a folder sometimes. Don't notice that you haven't done that, and then I sit looking blankly at it and wondering who it's from. So rule number 1 is never upset your tutor. And finally, just before you start task 1, write an introductory paragraph about you, your organisation, maybe why you're doing the CMI qualification. This should be about 150 to 200 words long, no more than that. And it provides fantastic background and context for somebody looking at your assignment who doesn't know you. Obviously, your tutor from CMBD will get to know you quite well, but if and when your assignment goes through to the centre manager for second checking, may get moderated by the CMI, it's really useful for them to know your background and where you're coming from. Right, you'll probably be pleased to know that that's the end of kind of all the prep. There might seem an awful lot, it might seem quite complicated, but once you get going, it tends to fall into place. And remember, CMI assignment writing is like painting and decorating. If you don't do the preparation, you can get a lousy finish. Thank you for listening.